What if I told you there are secrets that chosen ones should never reveal? Yes, even you must have certain things you never reveal carelessly. Intriguing, isn't it? But it's true. There is immense power in silence, a strength that often goes unnoticed. In fact, silence can be the loudest statement you ever make. Well, when you remain silent, you maintain an air of mystery. You become less predictable and therefore less vulnerable. It's a way to guard your heart and protect your plans. It's a strategy to keep your adversaries guessing, to keep them off balance. In this eye-opening video, I want to share 5 crucial things God's chosen ones should never reveal or discuss publicly. Some matters are meant to be kept discreet between you and the Lord alone. Let's examine them. Number 1. Your future plans and dreams. The first thing to keep private is your future plans and dreams. You see, the enemy has limited access to read your future. He works best when operating from presumption. The more intel he can gather through your loose talk, the more ammunition he has to sabotage God's intentions for you. Proverbs 29:11 warns that a fool utters all their mind, but the wise keep it in till afterwards. Learn the wisdom of holding your peace regarding what God shows you about your destiny. Don't be quick to announce revelations that may not yet be clear or established. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was told she would miraculously give birth to the Messiah. This precious promise was meant for silent incubation in her heart, only to be revealed when God's timing was ripe. Visionaries understand that dreams are like babies, needing protection and nurturing during the early fragile stages. Premature oversharing can open you up to misunderstanding, skepticism, and attacks at the wrong time. Rather than seeking vain public validation, quietly commit your visions to prayer. God may have you share pieces with a few trusted confidants for agreement, but avoid the temptation to excitedly broadcast unfinished dreams that require patient cultivation in the secret place. Until God gives the green light, keep your divine glimpses private. Learn to steward revelation with wisdom and maturity, not youthful impulsiveness. The future will unfold best when you don't provide the enemy intelligence through non-stop reporting of what God showed you. There is safety in silence. Number 2. Your family matters. A second crucial thing chosen ones must keep discreet is family matters. Whether marital disputes, health concerns, financial pressures, relational conflicts with children, or other sensitive issues, do not expose your inner circle carelessly. There are certain people who never seem to keep their family matters private. This is a very bad behavior that can destroy your family in no time. It isn't every little thing that happens between you and your spouse that should be published. Even when you have a disagreement, sometimes it's better to deal with it within your home first. You shouldn't become a public spectacle to others because you can't keep your mouth shut. Most of the people you share your family problems with also have their own issues, but one thing they never do is tell you about their own problems. So why do you go about publicizing your own family matters to others? It is a very bad concept. Yes, it is commonly said a problem shared is a problem solved, but this doesn't apply in every case. Sometimes it depends on who you are sharing your problems with. Sharing with the wrong person will mean a problem shared becomes a problem multiplied. Proverbs 17 tells us, "Whoever would foster love covers over an offense." And 1 Peter 4:8 says, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Avoid oversharing personal problems on social media or casual gossip with coworkers and neighbors. Do not provide legal access to vultures seeking an opportunity for accusation. Do not make your family vulnerable by airing their imperfections before a fault-finding audience. As a priest over your home, handle issues privately and protect your inner circle from unnecessary scrutiny. Seek help only from spiritually mature counselors who respect confidentiality. Imagine if Mary had rushed to her cousin Elizabeth, complaining about her betrothed Joseph's initial decision to leave her upon discovering her pregnancy. This family matter required wisdom and privacy. Do not swallow the enemy's bait toward resentment or bitterness against loved ones. Avoid slander that poisons how others perceive your family. Any dysfunction is an opportunity to extend more grace and forgiveness. God desires to heal and restore relationships, but in a context of love and secrecy, not expose drama. Learn restraint rather than hurling stones through impulsive oversharing that can never be fully retracted. Number 3. Your early victories and breakthroughs. A third area of discipline for God's chosen ones is learning to keep early breakthroughs and victories private. When God first grants you favor, promotions, financial increase, or new opportunities, it can be tempting to instantly alert the media. Proverbs 21:5 tells us, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." Your breakthrough is still fragile. Wait for God's timing before unveiling it publicly. Impatience can forfeit the fullness of the promise. When King Saul was anointed, the prophet Samuel told him in 1 Samuel 10, "Once these signs are fulfilled, do whatever your hand finds to do, for God is with you." He did not say broadcast on Facebook that God is with you. It was a sacred secret. David defeated Goliath while still a novice warrior. If he had started boasting prematurely, the enemy could have quickly eliminated him before his reign was established. But David kept silent, waiting on the Lord for the next steps. For example, say God grants you major business success early on. Avoid the limelight until your increase stabilizes. Joseph modeled this, not boasting of his gifting until he was mature and ready to lead. Publicizing a fledgling breakthrough invites unnecessary spiritual attacks, jealousy, and competition. It's smarter to silently establish your vine first before unveiling the fruit. Mysterious maturity confounds enemies. Young entrepreneurs often make this mistake, proudly declaring a startup's early traction that is not yet stable or permanent. Avoid hasty publicity that tries to leverage quick wins not yet solidified. There will be time for more public celebrations later. Allow God to mature your increase out of the limelight before unveiling it. Impatience can breed attack, envy, and complication, but learning to wait on divine timing protects your harvest. Number 4. Your financial status. Another unwise thing chosen ones do is openly boasting about financial increase and possessions. In this age of social media, many fall prey to pride and showing off, but ostentatious displays often lead to catastrophe. Proverbs 13:11 warns, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. The wise understand that wealth multiplies through diligent private accumulation, not bragging." Avoid the snare of seeking validation through flaunting lavish purchases, vacations, homes, and other vain status symbols that shift trust away from God. Do not measure self-worth by fleeting riches. Focus on spiritual maturity and discreet stewardship that breeds lasting prosperity. Rather than envying those who flaunt opulence, embrace the hidden dignity of modest living. Necessity is often the mother of financial breakthrough, and reckless spending sabotages stability. Be more concerned with pleasing God than impressing others. Keep precise financial data like income statements, investments, savings balances, and inheritances private, even from extended family if possible. Do not attract unwanted lawsuits, jealousy, manipulation, greed, or theft by boasting about money. Quiet confidence in God's provision and gratefulness for what you have is far more important than showy extravagance to prove your net worth. Seek first His kingdom, and prosperity will follow in due time. In addition to keeping your financial status private, it is also wise for chosen ones to maintain some secrecy regarding career endeavors. When God opens doors for promotions, new jobs, or opportunities, avoid broadcasting every detail about your professional advancements and workplace relationships across social media. Oversharing can make you a target for envy, sabotage, unrealistic expectations from others, and even spiritual attacks trying to thwart divine alignments. Rather than posting constantly about achievements, keep excelling through quiet humility and consistent work ethic. As Proverbs 27:2 says, "Let someone else praise you and not your own mouth." Of course, be open about general progress to trusted mentors and family, but resist the temptation to overtly showcase every milestone and title to the public eye where envy and pride lurk. Divine promotion comes without striving when we allow God to naturally raise us up in proper timing as we focus on obeying His voice. Number 5. Your spiritual encounters. The final crucial thing chosen ones must keep guarded is certain spiritual encounters and experiences. Dreams, visions, angelic visitations, prophecies, and other divine mysteries revealed to you. While at times God may have you share a testimony to encourage others, many profound moments with Him are meant just for you. Do not quickly turn sacred spiritual events into casual conversation pieces. Mary's visitation announcing her immaculate pregnancy was a secret only revealed later when angelic timing permitted. John was instructed not to write the thunders he heard in Revelation 10. Paul heard inexpressible things in 2 Corinthians 12 that he admitted no one is permitted to tell. Some revelations are like babies still developing in the womb. Birth them prematurely into the wrong atmospheres, and they will not survive. Learn to be a womb of incubation for what God imparts until He says reveal it openly. Avoid the flippancy of making deep spiritual experiences seem like light chatter to satisfy curiosity, and do not reduce holy mysteries to impressive sermon illustrations for personal glory. Honor the Lord by keeping intimacy private. May the Lord grant us wisdom to know when to speak boldly and when to cultivate prudent inner silence before Him alone. There is safety, power, and beauty in learning the sacred art of holding your peace.
Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, but had no idea why? You're exhausted and deep asleep, but all of a sudden you feel like something woke you up, but you aren't sure of what it was. If this has ever happened to you, don't worry. You are not alone. In today's video, you are going to find out the real reason why God wakes you up at night and what it means. But before that, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As the day fades away and the night sky takes over, there's nothing quite as sweet as getting a good night's rest. Whether it's the relief of a long day's work or passing out after a night in town, sleep brings us all a sense of peace. But why would God sometimes interfere and wake us up in the middle of our resting period when He knows this is the only time we have to rest? You see, we live in a spiritual world that is ruled by two major forces, good and evil. And whether we believe it or not, the spirit realm completely overrules the physical realm. But what we often forget is that while we may be fast asleep in our beds, the world continues to turn. And so does the presence of spiritual warfare. Have you ever wondered why most of the wickedness that takes place in the world occurs at night? Did you ever wonder why darkness is often associated with evil? That is because the devil finds nighttime as the best time for him to carry out his mischievous activities and go undetected. In fact, if God were to make us aware of the spiritual things that go on behind the scenes at night, most of us will stay wide awake. We would spend time praying rather than falling asleep. 1 John 5:19 tells us, "And we know that we are of God, and the whole world lieth in wickedness." When God wakes you up in the middle of the night, it is because He wants you to pray and counter such evil forces ganged up against you. In Matthew 13 verse 25, the Bible tells us, "But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way." In other words, during our slumbers, the devil is actively working to bring chaos and destruction into our lives. It's to counter this silent but evil agenda that God wakes us up unexpectedly in the night. It's His way of sending you a warning of what's happening in the spiritual realm you can't see. It may seem unexpected and disruptive, but there is a reason for it. Just like the parable of the wheat and tares, He knows your enemy is always prowling and looking for a way in. He's trying to protect you and keep you safe, even when you don't realize it. He understands your vulnerabilities and can see when you are in danger. He watches for the enemy's schemes, ever vigilant and ever present, to make sure no harm befalls you when you are asleep. This is how it works. The devil knows that at night we are most vulnerable whilst we are asleep. He knows that a sleeping man cannot pray whilst he is asleep. He knows a sleeping man cannot read his Bible. He also knows a sleeping man isn't conscious of his surroundings. So at night, when it's dark and the world is asleep, this is when the enemy or the devil chooses to do his work. At the same time, this is when God begins to prompt you to wake up and pray. Because the best time to catch a thief is when he is in the act of stealing. In fact, at the time God wakes us up to pray at night is when the devil will most likely want to make us feel all the more sleepy. Have you ever wondered why you feel much more sleepy when it comes to waking up to pray? Remember how the disciples of Jesus also fell heavily asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane just before Jesus was arrested? It isn't a coincidence that the time you feel most sleepy is when you really have to pray. If you were to wake up at that same time to check your phone or reply to a text, you wouldn't feel so tired or sleepy. But when it comes to prayers, the devil makes sure to attack you with an intense desire for sleep. You feel his arms around you, whispering sweet but empty promises of rest. He tempts you to stay in bed, telling you that praying can't possibly make much of a difference anyway. He tells you there is no need for you to cut your sleep short just to pray. He tells you to leave the prayers till morning and that everything is all right. But he's wrong. Whenever God wakes you up in the middle of the night, it is because He has seen the enemy attacking you and wants you to take charge spiritually. Praying can be a powerful antidote. It helps you to counteract and dismantle whatever plans the enemy has set up against you. The devil knows that if you take control of the situation and pray, you will overpower him. That's why he's sending waves of sleepiness, just enough to make you too comfortable to act. These aren't coincidences. He knows there is power in prayers, and he wouldn't want you conducting any spiritual activities that will hinder the plans he has against you. Waking up to pray might be a difficult feat, but those who heed God's call are rewarded with spiritual victory. The more sleepy you get, the more effort you should put into your prayers. As you begin to pray, and as your voice rises, so does his resolve. He knows his plans have been thwarted, and that with your prayers, his insidious plans have been exposed. The truth is, many people find themselves presented with a lot of problems in their day-to-day lives, but what they often fail to realize is that God might already have woken them up once or twice to pray. He may have even made known to them their troubles in advance through dreams and visions, but they just weren't mindful enough to take action. In Job 40 verse 4, it says, "Once have I spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further." This reveals that God speaks to us often, but we just don't pay attention. Don't let ignorance be the downfall of your faith. Obey that prompting to rise at night and pray diligently every time. You'll find yourself victorious over every hidden enemy in ways you could never have imagined. In the Bible, Peter was held captive in prison, awaiting execution the following day. It was during the night that an angel broke into the prison and woke the apostle from his sleep. When Peter noticed the open prison doors, he was naturally intrigued. He didn't know he had been given a herald of his Lord, and quickly realized this was his one chance of freedom. He took heed and followed the angel out of the prison, and his obedience resulted in him being set free, avoiding certain death. Most have made excuses claiming they're too tired or they're not feeling like praying. But Peter understood that obeying the Lord is better than comfort. So instead of making excuses and staying in bed, Peter woke up, followed the angel, and was set free. Another example can be seen in the life of young Samuel. When Samuel was a young boy, he was called upon by God in the middle of the night when he was sleeping. "Speak, for your servant is listening." Samuel answered in response, and in that moment, God opened up a world of wonderful possibilities. Had Samuel chosen to be lazy and slept instead, he might never have risen to be the great man he was. It's clear from this story that when God wants us to wake up at night and pray, we need to lean into our faith and obey his call. This doesn't mean we should always stay up all night praying, but it means if God prompts us to, we should. It can be tempting to just roll over and go back to sleep when we are awoken at night, but it is important to take these moments seriously and listen to what God may be trying to tell us. As much as it may be tempting to stay in bed and sleep, the importance of following his direction is obvious. You might wonder why God sometimes chooses nighttime instead of the day to give us these promptings. But the truth is, God can prompt you at any time, be it day or night. During the day, we often become too distracted in our activities to both hear God's voice and recognize spiritual dangers. But when we sleep and the devil begins to set up his plan, God can open our eyes to see the truth better than ever before. Even if it is just a few minutes of prayer, it can make a huge difference in our lives and in the spiritual battle being waged against us. But we must not forget that if we refuse to make time for God, we have already lost the battle. It takes time, focus, and commitment. But when you make it a habit of rising up in the stillness of the night to connect with God, unseen spiritual battles can be won. You'll be amazed by how much a few moments in the presence of God each day can do for your spirit. Every time you wake up, speak to God first just before you pick up your phone or speak to your friend, because only He alone can guarantee you a safe life, mentally, physically, and spiritually. A person who spends an hour at night praying is much more powerful than a man who spends an hour praying during the day. No wonder Jesus spent all night praying most at times, because he understood the power behind prayers. Though often hidden from our eyes, what's coming against us is nothing compared to the powerful and loving plans God has for us. When we honor Him and rest in Him, He will watch over us in the night and keep our souls safe and secure. So if you find yourself awoken in the middle of the night, be rest assured that God has something important to tell you. He's just waiting for you to listen. So there you have it.